If your dog has ever positioned itself over a sleeping person, holding completely still, face close, not resting but attending, most people call it hovering. Some call it anxiety. What it sometimes is something else entirely. The dog is not confused. It has found something. And it has been finding it for longer than anyone in the house is known to look. Mia Larkin was 8 days old when the midwife came for the second home visit. Hello and welcome to US Icon Stories. I'm Tyler. You're in the right place. Sophie had been awake for most of those 8 days in the fragmented way of new mothers. 2 hours at a time, sometimes 3, the sleep never quite reaching the place that would have helped. Cian had taken the first week off work and would take the second. The house was managing. Sable had been in this household for 4 years. She was steady in the way that working breeds go steady. Not anxious, not demanding, simply present. She slept in the kitchen. She ate on schedule. She had been calm through the pregnancy, through the birth, through the disorienting first days of a house that now contained a third person. The bassinet was in the sitting room near the cream sofa. Mia slept there during the day when Sophie was on the ground floor. What Sophie had noticed from the first night home, Sable would position herself beside the bassinet, lower her face until it was perhaps 15 centimeters from Mia's face, and hold still. Not sniffing vigorously, not licking. Holding still in the way that meant attending, not resting. Her eyes were open. Her breathing was slow. Sophie had found it unsettling and then, after 2 days, had told herself it was bonding. That the dog was learning the smell of the baby. That this was what large breeds did? Sinead Walsh had been a community midwife for 25 years. She arrived at the door in her khaki uniform, with the district lanyard around her neck, and the kind of efficient warmth that comes from doing the same work well for a very long time. She knew the questions before they were asked. She knew what a tired new mother looked like and how to speak to her without making the tiredness worse. She was in the sitting room with Sophie for 12 minutes before Sable walked in and took the position. Face over the bassinet. 15 centimeters? Still. Sinead set her pen down. She explained it carefully and without alarm, the way she explained everything. She said, safeguarding guidelines, airway proximity, no animal unsupervised at this distance from a newborn's face. She said the dog wasn't the problem, the proximity was the problem. She cited the trust standard. She said it would not take much, a baby gate, a room boundary, something to ensure that this specific positioning could not continue unsupervised. She was not wrong exactly. Sophie knew this. Sinead had 25 years and a document and the measured certainty of someone who had seen what proximity could cost. Sophie was 8 days in and running on interrupted sleep. She agreed. The baby gate went across the sitting room door. Sable was confined to the kitchen. Day 8, day 9, day 10. The house was different without her in the sitting room. Sophie noticed it as a quality of quiet that didn't quite fit the house she had lived in for 4 years. Like a piece of furniture moved 2 feet to the left. Everything's still there, nothing quite right. Mia slept in the bassinet. Sophie sat near her and folded laundry and fed her and did all the ordinary things. The gate held. Sable accepted it the way she accepted most things, without drama, without protest, with the low, steady patience of a dog who understands that rules are not necessarily permanent. On the night of day 10, Sophie woke at 3 in the morning to Mia crying. She heard Sable before she reached the stairs. A sound from the sitting room that was not barking. Lower than that, a sustained sound with an urgency in it. Sophie descended to find the gate ajar. She did not know how. She found Sable at the bassinet in the position Sophie had not seen for 2 days. Face down. 15 centimeters. Completely still. Sophie moved to pull her away. Then she looked at Mia's face. The color was not quite right. She could not have said what was different, only that something was. She touched Mia's forehead. It was warm in a way that was beyond the warmth of a sleeping infant. She took the temperature. She looked at the number. She called the out-of-hours line. Mia was admitted to the Rotunda Hospital at 4:30 in the morning. The diagnosis was early-onset Group B Streptococcal infection. Neonatal GBS, presenting on day 11, which placed it at the edge of the late-onset window. The pediatric team moved quickly. Mia was in the neonatal unit before 6 a.m. Dr. Amara Ose was the neonatal consultant on call. She took Sophie's history carefully, the way good physicians do, not rushing, not editing what she was being told. When Sophie described the dog's behavior, the face-over bassinet positioning, the stillness, the return after the gate was installed, Dr. Ose paused. She wrote something in the margin of her notes. She asked Sophie to describe it again, more slowly. 3 days later, Dr. Ose called Sophie's mobile from the neonatal corridor. I don't need you to believe the dog knew. I need you to understand that the compounds your daughter's body was producing in the early stages of GBS colonization are detectable at concentrations that would be significant to a dog's olfactory system. Your dog was not a nuisance at that bassinet. She was the only one in that room taking a reading. Medical Detection Dogs UK, in partnership with research teams at the University of Surrey, has documented canine detection of bacterial infection markers in patients with early-stage septicemia, including VOC compounds associated with GBS colonization. Specific volatile compounds, among them phenol derivatives and short-chain fatty acid signatures, are released as bacterial load increases in the body's tissues. These compounds become detectable by canine olfaction at concentrations 100,000 times below the human perception threshold. The German Shepherd's olfactory system, 220 million scent receptor cells compared to approximately 5 million in the human nose, processes these markers continuously against an established baseline profile for every person in the household. A deviation from Mia's baseline beginning perhaps 24 to 48 hours before the temperature registered clinically, would have been clear to Sable in the way that a wrong note is clear to someone who has memorized the piece. If your dog has been holding itself over a sleeping member of your household, face close, still, returning after being moved, that behavior has a direction. The dog has noticed a change. The question is only whether anyone else has. Mia came home on day 16. Sophie brought her in through the front door and carried her to the sitting room. Cian opened the kitchen gate. Sable came through slowly, no rush, no jump. She approached the bassinet, lowered her face to the position Sophie had learned the name for, and held it there for a moment. Then she lay down on the sitting room floor beside the bassinet. She did not move for the rest of the evening. Sophie sat in the chair across from them for a long time without doing anything in particular. Sable was still at the door of the nursery when Sophie finally let herself cry. What Sable did is not unusual. Dogs in proximity to newborns have been documented detecting early-stage infection markers 24 to 72 hours before clinical symptoms present. If your dog has been stationing itself near a specific person in your household, holding still in a way that does not look like rest, returning after being separated, that behavior has a direction. Note who the dog has been attending to. Note how long it has been happening. What the dog is doing may not have a name yet in your household. That does not mean it doesn't have one. What a Bernese mountain dog in a farmhouse in rural Quebec did for 3 weeks before anyone asked the right question is harder to explain. That story is next.